Governor, I think the first question we'd like to ask is what brings you to Crawfordsville today?
Oh, we're on the road a lot. Just always thought it was a big part of the job to travel as much as I could, be as accessible as I could to folks. So today's not unusual. Places like Cloverdale, a couple stops in Terre Haute. Crawfordsville was sort of on the way, going up to Lafayette from here. But I learn a lot. Occasionally run into somebody who's got a problem we can solve, and I've always, as I said, just seen it as a very central part of the job to be in touch with people.
Well, let's move from there into the next question, and that is, if term limits had not prevented you from running again, and if you had chosen to do so, what would you have been doing in your next term of office?
Well, first of all, this is a very hypothetical question because I don't think I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have run again. I usually say that in addition to Indiana's statutory limits, they're my wife's term limits, and the penalty for violating those would be pretty severe. So, but if for some reason there had been a little more time, we clearly would have pressed ahead with all the road building and bridge building we're doing. We clearly would have pressed ahead with the conservation, which we are doing, an unprecedented era of land conservation. I've just come from our biggest project, checking out its progress down on the Wabash. So there never any shortage of that. We'd have worked very hard, continue to work on education to make sure that the reforms we put in place translate into the only thing that really matters, which is a lot better results for our kids.
And what about the economy? Have you been approached by the Romney people to take any position should he be elected?
No, I haven't, and that's a good thing, probably for them and for me. I really am very interested in seeing him succeed. I'm very concerned about the direction of the country, but I've always said that this was the one job that I'd ever run for, and always assumed that I would go back to some more private life when it was done.
And do you have any plans at this point?
No, not yet, but sooner or later I guess I will. Something will come up and we'll try to be useful. I've always thought I might go back to business, but life has its surprises, and I've been surprised before.
Okay, and the last question I have for you is that our paper, our company, the paper of Montgomery County, is owned by a dozen local people who invested in a new company, startup with no promises of success, and that's been 8 years ago. Is that the kind of entrepreneurship you'd like to see modeled in Indiana?
It is, for two reasons. One, I think people who are willing to take a risk on a business and try to make a go of it, these are the folks who create jobs and opportunity for other people. Doesn't always work out, but sometimes it works out in a very large-scale way, and it's the engine that makes America go. Secondly, I have to say that I love this particular venture because small community newspapers and radio stations are such a fundamental part of the fabric of our state. They're the only place where people can get the kind of local information and insight that any community needs to succeed. So I love the step they took in forming the company, and I certainly love the kind of company they chose to form.